Hi, hello, g'day, kia ora, welcome to the studio. Today we are going to sew together, finally, the journal I will be using for Dephemerember 2023. So we've been working through pulling it together, and today I went to my sewing machine and sewed around the pages with a mix of straight and zigzag. Was a little bit difficult getting in underneath all these layers here, but we got there. Didn't sew any of these single pages here. It was really only the ones where I had adhered extra bits on or covered them with some of my jelly prints that I needed to absolutely sew. Here I had to be very careful that I only sewed around the edge of the page and didn't sew the pocket on that. Now I do need to strengthen that top, but that can wait till whenever. So the second signature, so now this page here, I went around the edge and then I sewed on any of the really heavier bits of paper. So sewed across the page, flipped over and went round and did some of the other heavier bits from this side, and then sewed this onto the page, having created a bit of a fold over there. I've left all the threads hanging at this stage. I'm not sure if they'll stay like that or they'll come off, so that's there. We then also needed to sew together this belly band. So this was made up of 3 layers. The bottom layer is the masking paper that has been coated with the wax. The middle layer is some tissue paper that has gold stars on it that was also coated in the wax, and that bit there I cut a length that was probably 2, maybe nearly 3 times the length of the paper, and then I've gathered up the threads or I've sewed through here with a very loose stitch, gathered them together as you would do with fabric, and I had to be very careful to make sure I didn't rip or tear the paper. And then I have sewn the 3 layers together, and this top one is just some leftovers of this jelly print here, and then sewn across the top and the bottom of that page. What I didn't do was sew that onto there, but that's okay. That looks like it's well and truly stuck. My bad, not paying attention. But I think I was going to put that in the center of the page, but it looked kind of out of place where it was because of that white edge there. So it actually looked better if I shifted it across. So that's what I've done. And then in here I sewed up and down this patch here to make sure that that pocket was attached. And because of the positioning of everything, I had to sew up and then reverse all the way back, so the stitching looks really wonky, but that's okay. I'm cool with that, but I didn't sew this back bit because this was just too bulky. So now I am ready to sew or bind the signatures into here. So first thing we've got is, so we've got our journal with the signatures. I've got some needles, the thread I'm going to use, and this is a waxed thread, and it's multicolored or variegated, I think is the technical term, bright colors, and I'm going to use this for all of the journals that I'm making at the moment in the series of, so all my Dephemerember journals and my sample journals, because they're all quite bright and colourful. Scissors, pencil, ruler of course, and I've got some check paper, and this is just some that I've tea or coffee dyed. I just found that, and there's plenty of paper there, so I'm just going to tear a strip off here. And this is following the advice that Barbara has given in a couple of videos recently, where she says it's much easier to do signatures and do the sewing of the signatures, the binding, using check paper, because it's, you can measure out a lot easier in terms of how many squares you're going to use. So first thing I need to do, and we'll move that over there, is determine how tall this is going to be. So I've got this at 5 squares by 5 squares. Now if I line this up on the top row of stitching, and I'm going to trim about there, and that will, that way, no, we might go the other way, because that looks like, the other one looks like that's a full square, and that one looks like a part square. So if we go that way and then trim that way, that looks better. So we'll just trim across here. Alright, so that's that. So now I'm going from that top row of stitching, so I know that to round about the middle of the stitching there. So we know this is my center, so if I put an arrow there, and I'm going to do it 2 squares either side, and hopefully you can see that. So that's going to be my top, and then arrows at the bottom, I'm going to have them pointing up to the top as well, but the spacing will be the same. So there's the top and there is the bottom, so that way I know where my top is. So now I need to work out how far apart I'm going to do my stitching. So first thing is sew my paper, or fold my paper in half, match up end to end, a little crease, and luckily that is on a exact grid line. So that is going to be my center. So now I need to work out how many each way. So let's try 10. So if I go from there, so that's 5, 10 is there, and 5, 10 is there, and from there 5, 10, 5, 10. So now the pages that I need to be most concerned with at this stage are my smallest pages, which are these A4 pages. And so what I'm going to do is check where the topmost and bottommost dots come to on here. And if I'm even with them, they are almost at the extremities of the edges. And I'm just a wee bit concerned that because they're so close, it's going to tear the pages. So what I might do is bring it in one dot each lot. So if we take that out, and this is kind of a trial and error thing, unless you can like make all your journals exactly the same height, in which case then you'll have one template and it will always work. Right, so that's cleaned off those. So now we're going to go, so 5, 10 and bring it back 1 is there. And if I go 5, 10 but bring it back 2, which is the equivalent of that. So if we go there, 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 and whoops, and I should probably check my things. So then we go 5, 10, bring it back 1, and 5, 10, bring it back 2, and let's just count. So from here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they're all evenly spaced. Now we want this page here, and how are we looking? So if we go there, we're now looking at like 3 grids and 3 grids away. So that's like a good finger space from the top, which is roughly ½ an inch. So yeah, that's much better. So if I draw in these extra dots now, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So those are my stitching marks. So we've got 1 row, 2 rows, 3, 4 and 5. While we wait for the plane to go overhead, getting out my awl. So what I need now are some paper clips. Now you can use whatever clips you like for this, and all it is to hold your papers in one position so that they're not going to move apart, and it makes it easier, A, for when you're punching your holes, but B, for when you're actually doing the sewing in bit. So I'm going to use these large paper clips if I can get the bag open. So I need a few, or you could also use these bulldog clips or spring clips or whatever you want to call them clips. Alright, so that should be enough. So what I'm going to do now, and this is purely for my purposes only, you don't have to do this, but because I have got pages of different heights, I want to kind of spread them out a little bit. Also because my cover is quite a bit higher than some of the pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one below and then one above. But I need to remember that these pages here, I've folded on an angle so they hang up and down compared to if they were folded straight. So this one is folded straight, so the height here is essentially the same as here, whereas this one, the height here is considerably different between the height here to there. So that's just one thing I need to bear in mind. So if I take this one, now what I might do is, because this one's got the fluffy edge, the torn edge, I'll take that one up, and then I'll bring the center page. No, I need to have that center page actually in the middle, Paula, or else it is not going to stay in place. So we're going to go center for this. So I know that needs to be on the 3. Then this one can go up, and if I line the bottom of this page with there, that's going up, and if I line the lower edge of this with down, then that signature will fit between there and there. Yep, I'm happy with that. So keep that there. I want to untangle my paper clips, and now I'm going to very gingerly tuck that in there. That's one. I should have done this beforehand instead of trying to do it one-handed. And then I want a long paper clip on the inside, so that's 2. Then I've got to remember that pocket, so I'm going to paper clip that in as well, so it's all going to be together. That's there. And then here we go from this side and down. Whoops, don't scrunch the top of your paper. Take it down there. Right, so that one's all together. So I'm happy with those up and down heights. And they're all pushed into the spine there. So now what I am going to do is fold this paper in half. Hopefully, actually if I fold it this way around, right on that centre line, right there, and then we're going to fold it back the other way, because I wasn't sure if the lines were lined up in exactly the same place, and they are. So what I want to do is make sure that that is in my centre. So now my cover I am going to fold in half and then slip that in and just double check. Right, so that is my centre. And because these grip a little bit firmer, hopefully they're long enough. to, I need to check that this is perfectly in the middle. But I don't want it moving once it is in position. Right. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. No, this will work because I've got another one that is alright, so is that, and that. Yep. So I want to make sure that that is lined up there. So there we go. This is the position of our stitching. So what I am going to try, and I don't know if it's going to work, is because I don't know that, like, I can't punch through holes in the fabric. So, because the fabric's going to split apart when I poke the hole, but it's good, the fibres are going to go back together as soon as I pull all of the needle out. So I need a guide there, and I don't want to draw the dots on here. So what I'm going to do is use the paper as a template and then pull it out afterwards. It's a technique that is often used when sewing delicate fabrics. So we'll see if it works. So that's in there, and before we do that, we now need to poke the holes in our journal. And for that, we need this foam block, or that's what I'm using. So we are going to put this in here. Now, first of all, I need to fold this in half. Right on this line. Because I did it to the other one, but not this. Because I've got 2 copies of this template. Right, so here's my template for my hole poking. And we are going to, there's the top, this way around. Here is our signature. So now I am going to grab another couple of paper clips to hold this in place. So I want that lined up with that line there. And that is lined up with there. The main thing is making sure, so I am checking that the edge of this paper here, the one with the white and brown, I'm checking that the edge of that lines up with 3 grid lines beyond this hole, and it does, and 3 grid lines beyond this hole, and it does. I hope you saw that. So there's our final hole. So we've got center and 2 holes. So we are, edge of the paper is 3 grid lines beyond, 1, 2, 3, and 3 grid lines beyond here. So now what we're going to do is not knock over everything on our desk, is get our awl or pokey tool or whatever you want to call it, and we are going to poke our holes. Now I find it is easier to kind of sit my papers in like a V like this, so I've got my one finger in the middle keeping them apart, and some fingers on this side and my thumb on this side, and that enables me to make sure that I'm getting as close to the seam of this paper as possible. And then I'm going straight down and through. Straight down and through. And then one more. Straight down and through. Then we've got to do two this side. 1 and 2. Alright, so they are together. So I'm not going to remove these other paper clips. I'm going to gently put that to one side. Then we're going to pull up the second signature. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. Fold that up, and that is ready to get sewn in. So this we can put aside for now. So we have our 3 signatures back. Now normally I would sew from front to back, but for this journal I'm going to sew the center one in first. So we'll put those 2 aside. We have got our journal cover. We've got a needle, or we will have soon. We're going to go with might go with that needle, I think. Alright, so don't lose that. Put it somewhere where I can see it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 3 times the height. So from 1, 2, 3, and snip. Now I'm using a needle with a large eye because this thread is quite thick. So I've got a good length through my needle. Now because this is fabric, I don't need to put my holes in here. And I'm going to be sewing from the center of the signature through to the out through the cover and then back in again, because I'm going to leave my tails hanging in here. So now find the center. The only thing you need to be very careful for, or careful with, is that you are going through the right hole. And for here, we are going through the center line because we are doing the center signature. So we've put that So now we're going to line up the signature with there, but we want to leave a little over half a page of tail. Now what you can do is clip that underneath one of these bulldoggy clips or spring pin clips, whatever you want to call them. So we've got our centre in there now. So next thing is we're going to find out, and this is a little bit of trial and error in terms of identifying where your centre hole is. So you may want to poke a hole through from the other side and see where that comes out. So right on that lady's leg. So, and you can kind of feel when you've got the hole in the right place. And now we need to find the hole in the signature. And then we're going to find the top hole of the signature, push that through. And it's these first stitches that are the most difficult because you don't know where you are stitching. So we're going through and we're making the hole this time as well. And we're going to flip it over. Now this time you can see where you need to go back in because you've got the thread from the first stitch. And we are looking for the hole. And I know we're coming through, but we're not finding the papers of the signature. And that's better. I can feel the point of the needle on my finger. And I'm just pulling this thread taut as we do the stitching. And we're going back through the centre hole that we made right at the beginning. And just a wee smidge off there. There we are. Right, that's going to annoy me. There we go. And now we're going to poke our hole through again and make it. See where it comes out. So this hole is okay, so right by that pattern piece. And that is right there. And in through the signature. And then we find our final set of holes. Go through the signature. Through the fabric. So that is almost done. We just need to come back through this hole once more. So we are lining up with the hole again. And yep, I can feel that coming through. And we can release that thread. Now, just check if your thread is tight enough. I normally like to just pull the thread through a little way again and make sure it's all tight. Tie over that one there and then do a double knot right in the center of the signature, in the center of the page. And we're going to release our needle, put it somewhere where you know where it is, and then you can trim these threads down. I like to leave mine sort of about the same length as the page. So we've got a little bit, so about half a length left over. So that is our first signature sewn in. So now we can remove all these paper clips. Just the paper clips. We are leaving the paper and these clips still in place, although we can perhaps remove the clips now. But that looks good. Happy with that. And yep, just checking that that is the middle. Looks good. Nice. Happy with that. Right, so we're now on to our second signature, and you can go either forward or back, entirely up to you. It's time to make a knot. And tie off the signature. So put the needle away before we lose it, because that is one thing we don't want to do. Then we're going to trim off these threads. And remove the paper clips. And that is our signatures sewn in. So hopefully you can see there, if I hold that upright and on the right angle, we do have a bit of a gap between our signatures. We still have the paper in there though. So now this is where the sewing technique sort of comes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to tear this out. So that's one bit. We'll just check what's there. And we're going to tear it from this side. And so now we need to just check where'd that other bit go. There. Check if there's any left in between. A little bit there. All gone. So you would now never know that it was there. Our signatures are all sewn in. We can put this in the scrap pile or throw it out in this case. I still have my other template here. So I'm happy with that. So now what I am going to do is put in an eyelet, right, and I'm tossed up whether I did this before or after I sew in the signature, but I want to do an eyelet in here for hanging any dangles. So I love, yep, that looks really cool. So we have got plenty of cover of space on that. For this, we're going to do we're going to do, what's this, crocodile. We're going to drop that down. Now we want this right in the centre. So so long as I line it up with the centre thread, then I should be right. So now I'm splitting my signatures, so I've got two to one side, one to the other side. Now I need this to be, I don't want to do punch holes through my sewing, but it doesn't matter if that is sitting just below that. So long as we're in line with that stitch and we're below there, we should be right. Yeah, definitely think maybe before sewing the signatures in would have been the best idea. But hey, never said I was good at the best ideas. Right, so we want this right here. And if I punch a hole, so be it. So there, even up there a bit. And that's in line with that. So, yep, I think I may have gone through some paper. Just. Yep, but that's okay. You can hardly see it. Alright, so now we're going to put that in there. Goes through from the top. And here we go, hope for the best. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. We have an eyelet. Whoops, sorry, fold back in. Look at that. We've got an eyelet in the spine. Just like I bought one. Go sewing together. So we have our spine with our multicoloured stitches. Front cover. Now, as I said, I still haven't decided if I'm going to put anything on here or not. So we've got inside. Oh, that is on the... We've got front signature. We've got our pocket. One. We've got this twisted page. Two. Here. Sewing around, intentionally wonky. We've got our gusseted pocket that flips out, and that is for scraps, so I'll have to put in the scraps. I still think I might just add an extra piece of paper just to strengthen that. Then we're on to our second signature with our flip out, whoops, sewed that in, flip out collage or Frankenstein page, Franken page. Here we go, we've got another wonky page. We've got gel prints, we've got belly band here, wrinkly belly band. Our final signature, we've got a flip out pocket. Yeah, final paper, page, also wonky. And then our 1, 2, 3, 4 pockets there, and then the back. Okay, so I think that is I'm really pleased with this. For my first fabric journal, for my first Dephemerember journal, I am ready for the 1st of December. Now already the journal is starting to fill up and look fatter. Look at that. This is starting. This is going to be chunky monkey, I think. And I am probably going to have to add some kind of closure to you. Alright. Okay. Thank you for putting up with my sewing and my not knowing what I was doing, because this is all an experiment, but we made it. We got there in the end. Now we can put this aside. Well, I hope you've got your Dephemerember journal ready to go. If you haven't, you need to get a move on, because it will be here before you know it. Right.